let's get started. Hello, everyone. My name is Natasha Nurse. I'm the owner and co-founder of Dressing Room Made, a coaching and consulting platform for women entrepreneurs, creatives, freelancers, and the fabulous Renee Powers next to me, virtually speaking, is she has a phenomenal podcast, and she's now kind of pivoted into this really cool book club called the Feminist Book Club. And without further ado, I'd love for you to introduce yourself, share a little bit about your story, and then talk about this amazing book club.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm going to try to find a more flattering angle. There we go. So yes, thank you. I founded the Feminist Book Club subscription box company in, as it stands now, like the way it looks now, in July, but it's gone through a couple different iterations. But it really, what you see now started in July, and it came out of my podcast. My listeners I was constantly recommending books on my podcast, and my listeners were like, well, why don't you just start a book club? And I'm like, well, I'm not Oprah or Emma Watson or, but I did it anyways. And I have an academic background in gender studies and feminist theory. And so it felt like the right thing to do. And it's taken off like gangbusters. Yeah. So every month, members suggest and then vote on titles that they would like to read. And later that month, the book shows up on their porch with products from women and queer-owned businesses, and self-care products, but really just anything that brings us joy. So anything from like really cute little handcrafted tea towels to jewelry to perfume to skincare.
Nice.
So yeah, it's been incredible. And then we meet online in a video chat, much like this. At the end of the month, we always invite the author. Nice. And sometimes they have joined us. Roxanne Gay respectfully declined, but the fact that she replied to my email made me feel like, wow, she knows who we are.
Awesome. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
So a couple of things. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the podcast has actually been shut down for right now. It's relaunching January 1st as the Feminist Book Club podcast.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Awesome.
So I've got some great authors, writers, and readers lined up to talk about feminist books.
Okay. So first, to kind of get everyone up to speed, what is feminism as you've come to understand it and study it? And then why is it important to read feminist literature?
Oh my gosh. So feminism gets a bad rap, and it's a very loaded term. And so I do believe that there are different kinds of feminisms. And depending on who you are, where you are in this world, where you are within like social structures, it's going to look different to you. To me, feminism is all about liberation and liberating oneself and others. It's a very community-oriented political movement, but liberating ourselves and others to overcome these kind of structural issues that limit us. So we talk about privilege a lot, and privilege isn't necessarily just, not having privilege isn't necessarily like, my life has been hard because, the color of my skin or my gender or the way that I believe and worship. It goes so much more than the social political environment that we're in limits us from having access to power because of those things. So as a woman, I don't necessarily have the same access to power. Like, I'm privileged, yes, because I am a white woman. I am, in a heterosexual relationship. I am feminine presenting. But there are still limits of my actual identity that I can't necessarily, or it's harder for me to succeed in ways that, say, a heterosexual, cisgender, Christian, English-speaking, white, land-owning, male might have. So there are more boundaries for me that take me, I gotta be a little scrappier, you know, and you gotta be even more scrappier as a woman of color, right? Because that's not necessarily going to be handed to you. So that's my really long-winded explanation of what feminism is.
Gotcha. Okay.
And why read feminist books? Well, I think because there are so many experiences of womanhood and femininity and feminism, it's important to drop in on those conversations, right? And so luckily, we've been so honored to read so many perspectives of womanhood, femininity, and feminism. So we've covered fluffy topics, but also really hard topics. Like I mentioned, Roxane Gay, we read her anthology, Not That Bad, Dispatches from Rape Culture, and that was really difficult to read. On the other hand, we've also read this beautiful collection of short stories edited by Laline Sukera called Austinistan, which was a collection of stories with Jane Austen themes retold in modern Pakistan by Pakistani women.
Oh, wow.
It was so lovely. And we learned so much just about what Pakistani culture is like and what, you know, being a woman means in Pakistan. And so for us, we don't necessarily read explicitly feminist books, but we read them through a feminist lens, meaning what does this mean for our definition of feminism? How does this impact our day-to-day lived experiences as a woman, and how can we step into somebody else's shoes, right? Like that's what's so beautiful about reading diversely is you can really see through the eyes of somebody else in terms of fiction and nonfiction.
Interesting. So I love 2 points. I love that in your definition, and that's why I love to ask people kind of what is feminism to you, because I am an adjunct professor at Nassau Community College, and I've taught Introduction to Feminism and, you know, kind of Feminism 101. And it's interesting that you didn't include equality and kind of like you talked about it, but without using that term, which I think is interesting. And then I completely agree with you with why do we need to read feminist literature? Well, why do we need to read about, you know, what's happening in the prisons? Why do we need to read about people of different colors? Like, I think the biggest issue in this world is that you can't explain this, like, you know, kind of, I guess, struggle or disparity, but you can educate, you can inform, right? You can kind of get the narrative in front of people, and they may not share that narrative, but they at least can't say they didn't know this. I think that some of the saddest thing that's going on in this world is that people are experiencing horror, and they're like, I didn't know that was happening, because there's not enough people getting informed and educated. So I think that's the importance, that there are people who, even how you talk about privilege, there's some people who won't even acknowledge their own privilege. And as much as I have disparity as a Black heterosexual woman, I also have privilege as a Black woman that maybe Black men don't have, or other Black women of different narratives don't have, right? So privilege is something that applies to all people. We talk a lot of it about mostly just white male, but everyone has privilege. I think, you know, and so that's the importance of having that conversation and having it be very public. Okay, so for the new year, what are things that people should be expecting? Can you like break down the process? How do you sign up for the book club? What should they be expecting to do? All of that.
Oh, I would love to talk about that. So I can tell you that our January book that members have suggested and voted on is called Women in Madness by Phyllis Schessler. And that's actually a really classic book. I think it was first published in maybe the 80s. But it's been updated, and the most recent edition of it, I think, is just a couple of years old. And it's about women and mental health. And so I think it's a conversation that we talk about a lot, but we don't know what to do with that conversation, right? And so I haven't read it yet. I'm really excited to see how this author kind of tackles this gendered lens of mental health care. And then in the box itself, a couple of great goodies, including a lotion bar. They're all women-owned businesses this month. I've mentioned that they're women and queer-owned businesses. This time it's all women-owned businesses. And a lotion bar. We've got some artisan soaps going in that smell like sangria, which sign me up. It's amazing. And some like really cool hand crafted wooden wooden magnets that say things like, and there's a variety. So you could get one that says "Smash the patriarchy" or "Reclaiming my time, reclaiming my time, reclaiming my time." They're really cute.
Yes.
And that's from an organization called humanishuman.org, which donates 30% of their proceeds to the ACLU. And the Feminist Book Club also donates 5% of all of our sales to a new feminist organization each month. So if you're interested, you can go to feministbookclub.com and just click the Let's Get Started button, and you'll see you can sign up for a 1, 3, or 6 month package. And it does renew. So, but you can cancel at any time. So if you just want to try out for 1 month, I welcome you to do that. And then we will get you onboarded and in our secret Facebook community, and it is secret, so it stays a very safe, private place. It's kind of a pain in the ass to get into because it's secret, but it does maintain those very like strict walls of privacy for our members, because we do talk about a lot of touchy subjects sometimes. But even if you're not on Facebook, which, you know, if you're watching this, you probably are, but if you're not on Facebook, we don't use Facebook for our live chats. So we use a program called Zoom, where you can log in anywhere in the world. So it's worldwide. Perfect. We've got members in Australia, in the Netherlands, in the UK, in Canada, and all across the US.
All right. So yeah, I pinned it in the comments, guys. So you can go feministbookclub.com. And do you want to talk about costs or any promotions that you're running?
Yeah. So it is a $42 per month subscription. That's with free shipping. So you don't have to worry about shipping. And that price is not necessarily going to go up with the Postal Service rates are rising in January. So just a heads up, our rates are not rising, but the Postal Service are. So, you know, hop on it now to lock in that price. And if you want to use the code VIP10, you can get $10 off any of the subscriptions. So that's the 1, 3, or 6 month subscription. And if you'd like to gift it, it makes a great gift. And if you order today, this is my last day I'm doing this because I can't guarantee that it would get there before the holiday. But if you order it today, it wouldn't be shipped until the first week of January, but I will send a little gift and a little welcome message with your welcome message today.
Okay, perfect. So I use that VIP 10, you said, right?
Yep, that's right.
Perfect. Okay. So now when you're reading, now how much of an avid reader are you? Do you read multiple books a month, or with the book club, you really just focus in on reading 1 book a month?
I try, so now that the podcast is shifting towards a book podcast, I've been getting a lot of books sent to me. And so I try to like always have one with me. I'm always reading one. I'm a very fast reader. Having spent time in a PhD program, you kind of develop that skill of speed reading. So I'm grateful that I have that skill now. So I do kind of have a couple going at a time.
Okay, me too.
And I'm a physical book person too. I'm not an e-reader.
So I'm in between the world, the modern and the old world. So yes, you and me are of the same cloth, where I love like library books, and I love just like feeling books and highlighting, writing. Like I'm that girl. But then my husband's like technology. So that I have the Kindle reader, and some books, you know, and you can save some money if you get them that way as well. So I go between both, but like you know, law school taught me well on how to read very quickly and get through a lot of content. So I like to read. I mean, my goal is to read like a book or two a weekend, but I also read comic books. Do you read also like fun, like, you know, like silly books like that?
Personally, I don't yet. Because there's so much that's coming at me right now. But I love just like a good YA fantasy novel. If I really want to have some brain candy, that's that would be my go-to. Like a vacation read would be like YA fantasy.
Oh, yes. Were you a Twilight fan or no?
No, not that kind of fantasy. I haven't gotten down with vampires yet. I'm more of the like magic magicians, like going back in time, like that kind of stuff.
Yes. Okay, gotcha. Now, with reading feminism every month, do you ever feel like feministic out? Like you're just like, okay, I understand the world is problematic. Like, I'm tired. Let's read about cheese. Like, or how do you feel about
That's so funny. Yes and no. I mean, what's so beautiful about the books that the members have chosen so far, it's a huge variety. So it's not always Roxane Gay talking about rape.
Okay.
We have read some fiction. We read Circe by Madeline Miller, which is about a witch in a demigod witch that actually, existed in Greek mythology. We read The Power by Naomi Alderman, which is one of those dystopian kinds of books. So there's always a little bit of everything. And even the hardcore feminist books that we've read, they haven't been, I don't know, our authors always kind of come at feminism with a sense of humor, which I really appreciate. I think that's another thing that gets a bad rap is feminists are humorless, but we're not.
Raw burning, yeah.
We're not. And a lot of our books are really fun to read. So, But, occasionally we want to read the tough stuff because that's reality, that's real. So.
Absolutely. Now, what are your thoughts about women who say they are hardcore, not a feminist? What would you, if you could kind of have a PSA to them, what would you say?
That's a great question. I'm going to answer this in a convoluted way. So one of the books that members voted on was Girl Wash Your Face by Rachel Hollis. And that is not necessarily a feminist book. I think Rachel Hollis might argue that it is, but all of our readers were like, no, it's a bunch of pretty blonde white girl privilege bullshit is what it is. Not to say that pretty blonde rich white girls can't be feminists, but she was really blinded by her privilege. So to women like Rachel Hollis, who don't necessarily see how privileged they are or don't identify as feminist, to them, I would simply nudge them in the right direction. You can't change somebody's mind, but you can embody what feminism means to you and why it's important to you. And that could then introduce them to ideas and struggles that they wouldn't otherwise see from their blind privilege, right? And I think, one of the things Rachel Hollis does in her book is she talks about how she basically wants to save little children of color and goes to becomes a foster parent and then just judges the birth parents. And then she adopts a child from, I think, Ethiopia and feels like she's the white savior. And so I just want somebody to show up in her life and just nudge a little bit, why do you think you're better? What is that about you? Can we untangle that? What is it about you that you have this kind of superiority complex? Because that's not innate. That is socialized into you, right? And so just little nudges. Let's talk about what it means to be a woman in this country. Let's talk about what it means to be white in this country and how that benefits you or becomes a detriment to your goals. So I think conversations with women who say, I believe in equality, but I'm not a feminist, just interrogate it a little bit, nudge it. My favorite thing to do is just ask why and have them kind of suss it out for themselves. Why don't you think that? Why do you think, X, Y, and Z? Why do you like the current president? What is it specifically about these things that speak to you specifically?
Why do you like the president? I love you. That's funny.
It's real. It's real.
100%. Keeping it real. 100.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. To add to that, I would say if I were to have a PSA, I would say, I agree with you. I think it has to be a conversation and it has to be not only why, but what do you want? I think that intention, like Jim Carrey, is everything. And so like I've always had the intention that I wanted to be the best person I could be, and I wanted to live in the best world that we could live in. And that I suddenly realized, you know, as I've gotten older, that that is not a shared sentiment in our society, that people are self-interested and that people would rather make money over the lives of humans right next to them, near or far, right?
And then I would ask, why?
That's the problem.
Yeah, why?
Yeah.
Why are you so selfish?
Yeah, exactly. Like, why doesn't everyone matter? Why doesn't everyone's rights mean the same? Why do we live in a world where homelessness and mental health is not important? Why, right? And so I think, you know, if we as a society can get on the same page, then I think we could have tremendous progress. But I don't know if that's the same sentiment that the people that the powers that be, if they really want that, if it's more financially I guess lucrative to have suffering and harm and detriment, then that's the world we'll live in. And I think that, you know, it's frustrating, but I think that your book club is not only necessary, but I think it's going to open up the eyes. I mean, I think what's cool is your fan base probably already included people who were feminists, right? And then also people who are like, well, what is this about? You know, like I want to learn something, and that's really cool. That's like,
been really fun.
Yeah, interesting.
And I pride myself in being able to hold the space for both, right? Like if you've got questions, ask them. Like let's get messy, because these conversations are not easy. So here is a space, again, super private, where you can make mistakes. And when I was teaching, that was always my mantra too. Like, this is your laboratory to fail. And failure is not bad. Failure just is. So let's get messy. Let's get our hands dirty. Let's ask the awkward questions and learn something.
I love it. Awesome. Okay. So what else, is there anything else you'd want to talk about the book club for people to know? I've shared the link, but, you know, feel free to say it again, things like that.
Yeah, feministbookclub.com is where you can find us. We're pretty active on Instagram at Feminist Book Club Box. And we are, we're getting a huge makeover January 1st with the new podcast. The website is getting a huge makeover, so don't judge the website right now. It's kind of fugly, but January 1st, it's going to be beautiful. I've got to, hired a designer, and I'm really excited about that. So feel free to get on our email list too. It's in our Instagram handle, or it's bit.ly/FBC list. If you want to get on our email list, if right now is not the best time for you. And yeah, you'll be notified when the new website is live January 1st too.
Okay, awesome. And I would just like to say, for everyone watching on the live or on the replay, thank you for supporting and joining in. And if you have questions, please put them in. But also, you know, guys, I think it's important that when you think about investing in yourself, especially as New Year's resolutions start to kind of creep into our minds, that this is a perfect opportunity, right? Because as we think about investing in ourselves, that also includes what? Knowing ourselves and understanding ourselves a bit better. And I think your feminist, like inner feminist, is a part of that. And if you've never thought you've had one, this is the perfect opportunity. Subscribe, learn, grow, and get into a community that she's talking about, where you can talk to like-minded people who can help you on your feministic journey. Because I think being a feminist is something that has really brought a lot of love and happiness into my life.
Same.
And, you know, all I want to do, right, is just like kind of spread the word. It's like church, you know, you're like, ooh, get on this, like, Jesus, please. Like, you know,
for sure.
Yes, like, and we're stronger together. That's what really breaks my heart when I hear more and more women say they're not feminists. And I understand that, like, I mean, I'm sure you acknowledge it, right? That the feminist movement hasn't always been, I think, open to all women narratives. And I think that's why women struggle, especially women of color, who have felt erased or, you know, undervalued. And so they feel like, well, why be a part of a club that doesn't recognize us? But guys, that can change. That's the past. It doesn't have to be the future, right?
Absolutely.
And a part of that is supporting business owners like yourself, and also with the podcast. Is that the same website? They'll get everything there?
Yeah, it's all going to be on feministbookclub.com January 1st.
Okay. Okay, great. So how can people, again, how can they support you, champion you? What do they need to do?
Yeah, I think everything, honestly, like Instagram is the way to go. That's where we are most active. That's where we like to connect with people. And then all of our links are in the link in our profile there too. So links to events that we're doing. We're in Minneapolis. So if you're in the Twin Cities, we're often at pop-ups.
Cool.
Links to the podcast will be there. Some guesting that I've done like this will be there if you want to hear more about what we've, what we do, what we're all about.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the best place to connect with us. And don't forget the VIP 10 coupon.
Yes. Okay, great. And then I guess for last minute words of wisdom, what would you say for someone who's struggling with trying to figure out if they're feminist or trying to figure out how they can be more activist in nature? Because I think feminists, we also tend to be more activists. And I think that maybe some people don't know what to do. They're like, well, I think I'm a feminist, but what do I do now? Like, what's step 2 for them?
Oh, it can be really overwhelming. Especially when you're just getting started. I would say especially, I speak as a white woman, especially if you look like me, if you're white or white passing, shut up and listen. Just shut up and listen. And listen to the other voices around you that don't look like you. And I'm a big champion of, taking a step back. Like, yes, I own this business, but my goal in life is to amplify the voices of the marginalized. And the way to do that is to listen to them first. So follow people that don't look like you, read books by people that don't look like you, that don't think like you, that don't have the same life experiences as you. Just open up your, just diversify your bookshelf, man. And your Instagram feed, and your Twitter feed, and your Facebook feed.
Yes, absolutely. Showing support and learning is how you'll evolve as a person, guys. So, I'm really excited. If you want to come back and talk about, with an author, please let me know. I want to champion you in the book club. It sounds amazing. I started Trust Your Mate Book Club, which is just about my purpose for my book club was just to read a book a month. I was just really concerned that people weren't reading. I mean, they're just like, no, I don't like books. And I was like, what the hell? Your brain's going to die. Like, oh no. Like, get it together, boo-boo. So we do everything. I would say mine focuses a bit more on business just because, from all of our conversations, I love talking about entrepreneurship and that hustle and how do you better yourself. But I'm conquering some financial literacy books more. I'm doing some, everything really. So
also finances are feminist. Yeah. Personal finance is a feminist issue. Totally. I'm so glad you're doing that. Yeah.
Awesome. Do you have a financial literacy book you're going to have in the new year?
Ooh, that's a great idea. I have no idea. Right? Because the members suggest them and vote on them in real time. So if that shows up, hopefully it does. But personally, I really want to read You're Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero. That is on my to-be read list.
It's a great book. I read it. Phenomenal. Also, another book is Susie Orman's, I think, Women and Money. So, if you give out tips or you want to put a little bird in their ear, Susie Orman. Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you, Renee. I really appreciate you sharing the book club, your story. And guys, if you have questions, please put them in the comments. She and I can come back and answer them. And subscribe. Go to feministbookclub.com. Follow her on Instagram. Get this going, guys. All right?
Totally. Thank you.
Yes. Have a good day, everyone. Bye.